A nightmare performance for Tampa Bay on Sunday Night Football brings their record to 6-5 on the season. They dropped their third game in a row. And, yeah, it's going to be a short show, but we are taking your calls and breaking down the state of the season with Baker Mayfield leaving this game due to injury. All that and more on today's Cannon Fire podcast.
I want to hear cannons. Downfield, pull up, ball to the 5, touchdown Tampa Bay. Mike Evans does it again. Fire the cannons, Bucs.
It's first and goal. That's picked off. And who else? Rondé Barber. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers may ride to the Super Bowl with that one.
Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Those up with the head. It's 30. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl. And there the cannons go. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them.
The Buccaneers were absolutely carved up by the Rams offense and MVP frontrunner Matthew Stafford on Sunday Night Football. The bleeding stops at 34-7, but this game felt like it could have been 65-7. Welcome back to the Cannon Fire podcast as we wrap up this primetime appearance for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, joined alongside me, as always, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. That sucked. And, I think that what's really frustrating about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now at 6-5, and what's frustrating about this game in particular, Evan, is that, yeah, this sucked, but what's even more frustrating is that I don't think anybody was particularly surprised that this was the result. The injuries are going to be a discussion that comes up, especially once we get to the starting quarterback. But at the end of the day, you have to make do with what you have, and the Buccaneers have not done anything since the bye week, where they had hoped to get somewhat healthy and try and rebound through the toughest stretch of their schedule. Things do open up certainly the rest of the way, but now you are competing with a red-hot Carolina Panthers team who, if they win on Monday Night Football against San Francisco, they will have a definitive first-place lead in the NFC South. Right now, they are tied for first, with the Buccaneers falling to L.A. Not a good outing for Tampa Bay. And, it's going to be hard to do this show and try and find, this was good or this was good. I'm glad this guy stepped up, because outside of maybe one or two individual performances, I think all three phases of football tonight for Tampa Bay were flat out embarrassing, my friend. One of the worst Bucs games we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, there's, we were talking before we press record here, and, we do the best and the worst, and we were talking about doing it, and I literally said to you, I was like, I don't know what to do for the best, right? Because I honestly, I don't think any player really deserves to be on it, right? I mean, Tej Johnson, because he caught the touchdown, like, is that it? Like, and even then, like, this is, a complete team loss, and it falls on the players, it falls on the coaching staff, it falls on the front office, it falls on a lot of people. And do I think the sky is falling? No, but it could be falling depending on what news, we get out of Baker Mayfield, right? Because I mean, and look, I know it's tough in the situation, right? And they probably would look better with a full week of practice and preparation and stuff like that. But the Teddy Bridgewater-led Buccaneers, I don't think are winning the NFC South. Now, like I said, to be completely fair, it probably would look better than that, right? You get thrown in and the game's already over. Like, it probably would look better than that. But there is no real threat there, right? So if Baker Mayfield's down for an extended period of time, the season's over. Now, we don't know that yet, right? I'm sure Todd Bowles will be asked about that. I'm sure they don't know 100% yet. I'm sure that's something we'll find out maybe tomorrow or Wednesday, or I'm sorry, Tuesday. But just a bad night. And whether it was offense, defense, offense couldn't get anything going early, but then the defense really set the tone, right? And this is becoming a alarming trend now. 99 points allowed by this defense since the bye week. So over the last 3 weeks, I say 99 because obviously you had the pick six tonight, which wasn't on Baker Mayfield, obviously. But we'll get to individual performances later. This defense, though, didn't give anybody a chance tonight. It got carved up time and time again. Easy, right? That's how I would describe it. It didn't look like Matthew Stafford really broke a sweat. They were just playing pitch and catch with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua all night. And Todd Bowles seemed to have no answers for anything that Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay were throwing at them. And it seemed to get worse and worse as the game got on. And really, I mean, the Rams, obviously, they only scored 3 points in the second half. They let their foot off the gas. I mean, they could have easily put up 50 because this defense was just lost, completely lost. And that falls on the head coach because the head coach is the defensive play caller. The head coach's calling card is defense, and it's been the defense the past 3 games. Now, I understand the offense only put up 7 points tonight. I get it. But it's been the defense that I think has really deflated this football team, and that's a big issue.
Yeah, I think the explosive plays over the last few weeks have become just too common of a trend. And like you said, despite the offense tonight, the Bucs had 1 possession. Baker missed a Mecca Ibuka on a big deep touchdown, threw the ball just a hair too late. Next time they got the ball back, it was 14-0 practically because they get the ball back and then you get the Cade Otton pick six. I say Cade Otton pick six because I had Vietnam flashbacks to the O.J. Howard interception against New Orleans in, what was that, 2018, 2019? I think
it was 2019. That was
one of those.
I was gonna say that was like the most Jameis Winston interception I've seen since Jameis Winston's not been in Tampa. Was the most. That was like the most. Like, are you serious right now?
It was very it was very much an indicator of how the rest of the night would go for Tampa Bay. But one of those plays that I only thought I would have to watch once in my lifetime. And here we are again talking about it. Not a great night for Cade Otton. Again, just another guy on the list of bad performances tonight. But where do you want to start, my friend? I mean, you know what? We got a couple of calls we can get into as well. Probably not going to be a super long show. I don't know if anybody wants to stay up past midnight talking about this disaster of a football game. But we do have a couple of people calling in. We appreciate you. You're on live. Who's this?
Hey, this is Fogo. Recent Bucs fan from when we first won the Super Bowl.
Let me hear it, man.
First off, I want to say thank you guys for doing this on a weekly basis. You guys are awesome. You deliver great news for the Bucs and the association. Really appreciate you guys. Now back to the Bucs game. I don't know. Like you said, we weren't expecting a loss this much, but at the same time, we were expecting a loss, it's like a small fraction of a loss going into the game. We knew that our offense wasn't as strong as it's supposed to be. Our defense is still lackluster with the injuries and all the weird blitzes that Bowles calls. And I don't know, to be frank, I thought Zion McCollum was going to have to step up in this game. Why did he do Jamel Dean every other season, apart from this season? He just didn't show up, He was getting cooked. Devontae cooked him so much that he walked into the tunnel and left us. He left the whole game.
Yeah.
He left the whole stadium. He was done for the night. He could have had 3, but he said, I'm good.
Yeah. It was embarrassing.
And what's he? Yeah.
I thought I thought it was just a bad performance for Zion McCollum especially. And that those are honestly, Evan, those were one of the concerns I had kind of brought up on the pregame show is I've been worried about him because it's just he's making mistakes that he wasn't generally making last year. And tonight we just saw some piss poor technique.
Tonight was bad. Tonight was really bad though.
Yeah, it was bad all around. But final thoughts before we let you go, my friend.
I think we should just thank for the season and hopefully have a new coaching staff by next season and big signings and trades next season. Go Bucs.
Go Bucs. Thanks for your call, man. Listen,
there it is. There's our first tank.
It's good. The phrase tank. Listen, tank at 6-5 is That's a point of view. And you know what? I think there's going to be a lot of people who call in tonight. There's going to be a lot of people who participate in the live chat tonight who may not say the phrase, let's tank the season, but people are probably done with Todd Bowles. And you know what? I understand the frustration entirely. I apologize for ever putting my faith in this defense.
It was, yeah. I mean, really, we can all point the finger at you. I think. I mean, ever since that tweet, it's just, I mean, they have just looked pitiful. I mean, even against New England, it was like, it's only a couple plays they gave up, right? They played okay. Buffalo, they got shredded, and then tonight was even worse. I think than Buffalo, honestly. Like Buffalo, they got shredded, but like tonight, it looked like they had no idea what was coming, and yeah, bad.
Just terrible all around. We got our next caller here. I appreciate your patience. Who's this?
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the guy, Thomas again. How's everybody?
Good.
How you doing, Thomas?
We're hanging in there.
Pretty good. Just a miserable showing overall, even though for the third straight game, I see that we were able to run the ball real effectively. So maybe going forward, they can just lean on the run pretty heavy. And there's maybe something to that. That being said, I fully expect us to finish, 4-2, 5-1, go 10-7, 11-6, host a better team in the wild card round and probably lose. And, I guess that's the new standard now. But I was just thinking back, and I even, of course, did some research, and I looked up the Brady era, and of course I go way before that, but I looked up the Brady era, and the run game was much worse when Brady was here, and the defense actually allowed less points in the Baker era than it has in the Brady era. And I looked back at Baker, and I looked, and I know people don't like to count his first 5 years that wasn't here, but his rookie year, he finished 24th in completion percentage. And the next 4 years, he wasn't in the top 25. When I looked at the list, it just ended at 25. So he was somewhere 26 or lower. But even when you do that, you take into account his 3 years here. In 2023, he was 19th in completion percentage. Last year, he was 3rd. And this year, he's 20th. So, 7 out of 8 years is like a pattern. So he's just not an accurate guy. And I know I called last week with the win-loss. He's 26-22 since he's been here. 10-4 in the NFC South. He is now 16-18 versus the rest of the league. Every year he's been here, after today, we've clinched a losing record again against winning teams. And I don't just mean championship teams. I just mean a team anywhere over 500. All 3 years, we have a losing record that he's been here. And it's just becoming clear to me. Last year, even though I think that year was kind of overrated, 2024 was his outlier. If you play 8 years and you finish 20th, 19th, 24th, 30th, and 1 year you finish 3rd, well, that 1 year is the outlier in completion percentage. He's inaccurate. I'm just not that big a fan. And, I don't want to go back with Liam, but I personally would have backed up the Brinks truck to get him. But, okay, that's over and done with. I might run it back next year just to make everybody happy and placate the fans. But, and I know this isn't going to be a popular take, Baker's about to be 31. At some point, you have to think about the future if you don't have one of those guys. You either need one of those guys or you need to get them. Baltimore traded up to get Lamar. Flacco was only 33. Kansas City traded up to get Mahomes. Alex Smith was only 32. Burrow, when he got to Cincinnati, Andy Dalton was 32. It's like you either going to get one of these guys or you're going to end up playing them a couple times a year and having to deal with them in the future. I just don't see Baker being that guy he's been in the league long enough. And I think you're treading with dangerous waters saying, for the 3rd straight year, we'll get hot at the end of the year and win a bad division. You're banking on your competition being bad. And since stats matter so much nowadays, Jacoby Brissett is playing a lot better than Baker. And that goes to my other point. You take a veteran quarterback that has 100 starts and they play for 17 games and throw 35 times a game, they're going to put up stats. That's why wins and losses are so more important to me than stats. You get behind by 20 points and you throw 30 times in the second half, yeah, you're going to rack up some garbage time stats. And the defense sucks too. And two things can be true, and if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And it's going to be an interesting offseason, and management needs to hold off on giving Baker that extension. If they give him an extension and give him big money, they will regret it. If they hold off one more season, I can guarantee you they won't do it. They got people smarter than me looking at the numbers. Trust me, they know all this stuff that I'm saying. They will not bring him back. But, we should still get to the playoffs. If that's the new measuring stick now, go 10-7, go to the playoffs. Look like we're going to do that for a third straight year. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good night. I'll be listening in.
Great call. We appreciate you, Thomas. Go Bucs.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Thomas, but I think it's more likely the Buccaneers do extend Baker Mayfield this offseason than trade up for a quarterback in the draft. Or they're big fans. They love him. That's just what it is.
So we'll talk about Baker Mayfield here in a sec before we get to this next call. But talking about Todd Bowles, Thomas had brought up Liam Cohen. It's hard to not look at what he's doing. 7-4 right now with a blind guy at quarterback in Jacksonville. It's hard to look at that and then obviously look at the situation where the Bucs season is kind of in free fall right now, especially with, everything in limbo with the status of Baker Mayfield. When you look at the Baker contract extension, I also kind of agree with you, but I think there is something we need to dive into about Baker's performance here just recently. But with the Baker extension, what do you think the chances are? And this is mostly for like the angry mob that we have, right? This is for our crowd with the pitchforks and the torches. What would you say the percentage is? And like the Bucs are 6-5. But there is a reality to the situation, I think, when we start to talk about how the Bucs measure up against good teams. And yeah, injuries are going to factor into that, but every team has injuries. So I'm just going to ask this question. With the Baker extension, what do you think the percentage is of Baker getting extended and Todd Bowles not being the head coach next year?
So that specific scenario you're asking?
Yeah.
Or like what percentage is higher, you mean? Like
I'd say that specific scenario.
See, it's hard, right? Because like, do I think there is a chance that Todd Bowles is not coaching the Buccaneers next season? Yes. I thought there was a chance last season. And actually, I think there was a real chance. I'm not saying it was likely or anything, but like it wasn't zero last offseason. Like
Yeah.
I'll say that. I'll probably go because like I don't think it's like Baker and Bowles like it's a marriage thing. Like it's not like Bowles is an offensive guy, and like that's his offensive play caller and this and that. Like
Yeah.
They've had a different offensive coordinator every single year that Baker's been in Tampa. So it's not like this was the handpicked guy by Todd Bowles. So like I do think like. I don't know. I guess I'll say like 30%, but like I think if Bowles is fired, I don't think it changes anything with Baker. Like I think they would still look to probably extend him. Extending him would bring his cap number in 2026 probably down, most likely. So I don't really think who the head coach is would change. And I think, honestly, if they were to move on from Bowles and look for a new head coach, they would be looking for somebody who wants Baker Mayfield as their quarterback. Like I think maybe eventually you can discuss some plans after Mayfield down the road. But like for right now, I think that's gonna be one of the things that they would be looking for. Somebody who, is dead set on having Baker Mayfield as their guy right now. So I don't think Bowles being here or being gone really impacts that too much. So I would say there's still a decent chance that Baker Mayfield gets extended either way, despite Thomas. And look, I mean, every stat Thomas says is real. He's not making it up. I will say, in terms of this year, I think it's a little bit tougher. I think Obviously, last year was Baker's best year. The highs this year have been the highest they've ever been, sure, but I also think his lows this year have been a bit more low, I think. But it's just hard, right? Because of all the injuries. And I hate to use that excuse. I really do. But when you're throwing out a lot of the guys that you are with a first time play caller, it's hard, right? And not everybody is Dave Canales. Dave Canales was a first time play caller. That worked, right? That was successful. It wasn't amazing, but it was successful. And Liam Cohen had, history calling plays and stuff. So, but Josh Grzard, I think he's going through some growing pains, right? And you're going through those growing pains while also being without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan and Bucky Irving and even Emeka Ibuka's gotten banged up from time to time and Cody Malk and Tristan Wirfs for part of the season, Luke Gedeke for part of the season, Ben Bredesen. Like you've been dealt a pretty tough hand. But again, like we talked about, you said it earlier, the injuries, every team's got injuries, so you got to go out and execute eventually.
Right. So what is the line then? Because I feel like if we want to build the case, I mean, honestly, again, we're back to square one. We're back to the same conversation we've been having at the end of these seasons where the Bucs go through a midseason slump. Doesn't seem like a safe bet as of right now with the looming injuries that they are going to get hot and finish the year the way that we expect them to. But here we are again in the same situation. Where do you draw the line? Is it one of those things where you can legitimately say that this season is a wash because of the injuries? Because that laundry list of names that you just threw at me, it does seem longer and more impactful than a lot of what they have dealt with in seasons past. Because I know that last year, it was mostly on the defensive side of the ball. It felt like you couldn't field a secondary any given week because you had so many moving parts and they couldn't take the ball away.
Mm-hmm.
This year, largely on the defensive side of the ball, I'd say they've been a little bit healthier, but that hasn't necessarily mattered when they're giving up 1,000 yards in 10 quarters.
Right.
So, where do you ultimately draw the line? Because I think if you lose Baker Mayfield for 3 games at this point, we're probably done.
So we do have an update on Baker Mayfield. Per Todd Bowles, Baker Mayfield suffered a sprained left shoulder. We'll have an MRI tomorrow to determine the full extent of the injury. So we don't really know right now. I don't know. I guess sprained left shoulder obviously is painful. Doesn't sound like season ending to me, right? Like hopefully it's not like. Hopefully it is just sprained and not like actually like, oh, you tore something in there or something, especially because he's had shoulder issues in the past.
I think that same
his
shoulder.
Final few seasons in Cleveland, that was a big issue, right? So, where do you draw the line, right? When you're talking about Bowles and the defense, and because again, I think it has to be deflating, right? To see this defense go out there and just give up big play after big play after big play and points after points after points. To me, it's a 6-game audition, right? It really is. That's how I'm looking at it right now, and I think because obviously, again, I agree, right? If Mayfield's out for 3, 4, 5 of these last 6 games, they're done. Because they won't go winless. Like they're gonna win some of these games because they're just simply better than some of these teams, but they're not gonna win the NFC South. And I don't think the Panthers are that good either, which, is sort of the story with the NFC South, right? Like, I think, like, the Panthers could go, 8-9 or 9-8 and win the division if Baker Mayfield's to miss long term. And then if that's the case, though, what do you do with Bowles? Because, you could make an argument. I'm not saying I will. Look, if it was up to me, and I think I made this pretty clear last year, but maybe not 100%. If it was up to me, Liam Cohen would be coaching this team right now. But you could make an argument that, well, you could say, well, look at the injuries, and then the cherry on top was the starting quarterback going down for 4 or 5 of the final 6 games, and you had to play Teddy Bridgewater, who was coaching high school football a year ago. That would have been the ultimate, injuries really screwed this thing up, right? That would be the ultimate thing where Bowles would probably look at it and be like, yeah, if we were healthy, you'd probably win more games. And the thing is, Bowles is probably right. He's not wrong. They probably do win more games if they're 100% healthy, but nobody's 100% healthy. And you got to play the cards you've been dealt, and they have played every wrong move right now.
We appreciate you holding for as long as you have. From the 727, who's this?
Hey, this is David Clearwater.
David, what's
Hey,
up,
David.
man?
So, hey, how are you? So this game really got me confused and surprised, because following the Buccaneers the way I do all the time, every day, I really felt that things would go a different way, I thought, for example, in the off season, right, when we signed great Vildor, I think he would make a great difference in a game like this. Or Anthony Walker Jr., right? Or when we pass on Joey Bosa, when we pass on Josh Sweat, when we passed last year on Daniel Hunter, and then we sign a groundbreaking player who he played great last year, which was Reddick. It was probably like a 20-year sack year last year. So when I saw all these moves in the offseason, I really thought, look, Jason Light, he got something going on, and it will be fantastic, because we have so much depth in all positions, right? Great signings, great draft, So what could go wrong with this team? And then I'm just very surprised with the result today. Very happy as well that he, right in the beginning of the year, he signed Zion McCollum to a $16 million a year contract. So I think that's going to play out beautifully in the next years to come. And go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
That's all I have to say.
David, thanks for your call, buddy. We appreciate you. Go Bucs.
I sense a little bit of sarcasm there.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, and David's been a guy who has criticized Jason Light a lot. Josh Sweat got massive money. The Buccaneers were never going to do that. Daniil Hunter, he got paid a pretty good penny as well. Joey Bosa and his 4 sacks, I guess. I guess that's a big deal. Yeah, that would have made the difference. And look, Zion McCollum, and I guess said it with Jamel Dean for all those years, and I guess I gotta say it with Zion McCollum. I think Zion McCollum's a good football player. I think Zion McCollum is having a bad season, and he had a terrible night. I mean, I actually Bucs Nation, we have a group chat for Bucs Nation, and some of the writers chime in for every now and then on like their thoughts, and I just texted one of them. I said I would bench him. Like I think it was after the second Devontae touchdown. I said I would bench him because that honestly might have been one of the worst cornerback performances I've seen since Jamel Dean in Seattle in 2019. Like it was that was bad. Like the Rams targeted McCollum like specifically every single time. Mind you, this was a defense that did not have Jamel Dean out there nor Benjamin Morrison. They're down 2 corners who play an awful lot, and they still targeted your only actual starting outside corner. He's been the starting outside corner all season, and the Rams looked at the film and said, get after that guy because he's an issue out there. And yeah, it was a big issue for the Buccaneers. And I like Zion McCollum, though. And I do think he's going to bounce back. But this season has not been what the Buccaneers hoped, and tonight was just unacceptable. So yeah, he absolutely needs to be better. And Jason Light, look, yeah, he shares some of the blame in this too. And we're not going to go on. This podcast would be 3 hours long, and we talked all about this stuff, right? And there will be a time and a place to do it. But yeah, Jason Light, they've been trying to find an edge rusher since 2021. And there's just a lot of things. There's too many zeros on this team. Chris Braswell, a 0. Servassier Dennis, a 0. Levante David, they've relied so much on him over the years, and it's finally starting to catch up to him, and you're starting to see it, right? I think the secondary has a lot of good players in there, but now Jamel Dean's a free agent, and he's not going to be back. He's going to get paid a lot of money. It will not be in Tampa Bay. So, like, and Vita Vea is a good player, but is he? I think it's safe to say he's probably just now sort of leaving his prime. I think he's still in the tail end of his prime right now. Antoine Winfield Jr. is in his prime, stuff like that. But Anthony Nelson, what does he do, right? Yaya Diaby is a solid player, but he's more of a 2 or a 3, right? On a really good team, he's a third edge rusher, and there's not enough guys here, and that falls on Jason Light. And Todd Bowles can coach him all you want, but if the guys ain't got the talent, it's not going to matter. So it falls on Bowles and the defensive shortcomings and the wide open receivers and just looking outclassed. Yeah, that falls on Bowles, but also like the personnel, like it falls on Light.
From the 813, who's this?
This is Jack. How's it going, guys?
What's up, Jack?
I want to start this off. What is the definition of insanity? It is doing the same thing over and over and over. And that is what we are seeing with this team. Very unfortunate to say, but I am tired of looking at Todd Bowles' face on the sideline as it looked like he just had shame soup in his pants. We didn't sign a D-end. Give all credit to Jason Light. I really can't give judgment on Grizzard until we have a succinct team in place. But we deserve better than this. And it's really sad because the team potential going into this year was astronomical. I'm just absolutely sick of it. Now I have to hear Mike Tirico, who loves to follow women home, talk about how horrible we are the entire time. God, I wish the season would have gone differently. Wish we would have been healthier. So many things could have gone different. I'm sick to my stomach. Go Bucs. I don't know why I got this team tattooed on my back in the first place.
Oh, brother, go Bucs. Great call.
Appreciate the dedication, though, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true dedication.
That's the kind of stuff that you can't fake. But, just imagine the aspirations we had for this team when they were 5-1. I know that, again, the injuries start to creep in, and I think that is a valid reason as to at least part of the reason why the Bucs are where they are right now at 6-5. They're still above 500. But this is probably the worst feeling 6-5 team of all time, at least just because of the traction they've had or the lack thereof over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, man, I think that a couple of weeks ago heading into the bye week, we keep saying this. We had described them as leaking oil, right? Because then you were still kind of finding ways to win games. Your quarterback was playing better than he is now. And you had just a few more pieces on both sides of the ball. You were marginally healthier than you are now. And since they started leaking oil, they never took the car to the shop. And now they're blowing a head gasket. They got smoke coming out of the exhaust. It is getting bad. Will it get better? I don't know. Time will tell. Hopefully we find out the MRI results for Baker Mayfield bright and early Monday morning, and that will, I guess that'll decide my mood for the rest of the week.
Really quick, we do have, we had a $5 super chat a little bit earlier from Another Day at the Dock. Appreciate you. The fact that Teddy Blankwater is a QB in the NFL is an effing joke, man. Losing by 27 is pathetic. Predictable offense. Defense is shredded by any good quarterback. The Bucs have beaten some good quarterbacks this year. And look, to be fair, Matt Stafford's on one right now. He's playing the best football I think of his career. And I thought in the pre-show, right? I said that I thought the Rams were the best team in the NFL. But yeah, really good quarterbacks. Just Bowles can't seem to figure it out most of the time. Sometimes they do have some solid games against them, but a lot of the time you see that they don't do it. And again, I think it falls on Light a little bit because I also think sometimes they just don't have the talent in certain places you desperately need it.
Thanks for holding on for us. Who's this?
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Colt calling out of West Palm.
How you doing?
Colt?
Good, man. Good. I had to call in and talk to somebody. This game has just been terrible the last 3 weeks, but I had a list of things I wanted to throw at you guys. Just absolutely no pass rush from this team. I know that's something that's mentioned a lot, but something that hasn't really been mentioned a lot is just the offensive play calling. these wide receiver screens. And, Todd Bowles saying, we abandoned the run too early. You're the head coach, man. You gotta take control. And then, the punter this guy has to go. Absolutely crazy 24-yard punt. And then I'm not really a big, we got to fire Todd Bowles guy, because if you look at the results, three playoff bursts, winning Division III is great, but it's the same season every year. You start off hot and then have a terrible middle of the season, and then we rely on just the terrible division and winning a couple close divisional games in the end, and that's going to catch up to us. So I think if we don't win the division this year, he's got to go. And then the only hope that we have really is just health and getting our offensive weapons back. But if Baker's continuing to play like he's played the last 3 weeks, I don't think it'll matter. So, What do you guys think? The optimism that we have left on the table with the week schedule we got and potentially getting some guys back.
Great call, my friend. We're going to dive into it. Go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
I think first things first, the point about Josh Grizzard and the offensive play calling tonight in particular, the injuries are going to shorthand most offensive coordinators, most teams in the NFL. When you're missing your top 3 wide receivers, that's going to do some things to you. But I do think it can also be true that the injuries have showcased a lack of scheming guys open from Josh Grizzard. He really doesn't do a good job helping these guys out, and he doesn't have a lot of what we would call, WAO routes, wide ass open. We really don't see that happen a whole lot. And Emeka Ibuka getting all of this defensive attention, you would hope that at some point he could kind of be schemed and have a play every now and again. He just hasn't had very many good looks, and I think that, Josh Grizzard is partially responsible there too.
Yeah, it's again, he got dealt, pretty tough hand. But at the same time, you're an NFL play caller, and your job is to, play with the hand that you're dealt, right? Make it work with the pieces you got. And sometimes it has worked, right? I think Tej Johnson, he's probably nothing more than a wide receiver 4-ish. But he's a nice little player, right? And they've done some nice things. They've done some good things with him.
Little, huh?
Yeah, well, it's true on both ends.
Come on, man.
Well,
he had a touchdown tonight.
He did.
He had a touchdown tonight. You got to call him.
It was a nice little grab. But it was actually a really good grab.
It was big. It was big man grab. Honestly,
yeah.
If there's one play that we got to give props on, let's. There you go, Tez. Great play.
Yeah. Didn't want to show it too little attention. So look, and they don't have a lot of these guys, right? So, and Grizzard's still trying to learn the ropes. I get that, but again, you got to do with what you've been dealt. And at times it has worked. Again, they didn't have Emeka Ibuka in the second half of that 49ers game, and we're still able to move the football relatively well. The Seattle game, they didn't have Bucky Irving. They didn't have Mike Evans. Chris Godwin was still kind of, still coming back from that injury. It was only his second game. They played well. And so it's in there. It's just defenses get tape. And when defenses they're going to game plan to try and stop it. And how are you going to counter that? And the Bucs and Josh Grizzard just have not done a very good job. So the Bucs, if they retain Todd Bowles, obviously if they fire Todd Bowles, you're probably going to get a whole new staff. But if they retain Todd Bowles, I do expect Josh Grizzard to be back. I don't think they're going to be making a change at offensive coordinator. I think there might be some changes on the staff, especially if this team misses the playoffs altogether and they still decide to retain Bowles. But I think Grizzard would get another year. So anybody hoping for another offensive coordinator, I don't think the Buccaneers want to go through that. The offense hasn't been that bad. And again, they're just going to bring up the injuries. And for some of the aspects of it, the injuries are valid because it does affect things.
I thought, on top of everything else, I also thought Grizzard may have hit the panic button a little too quickly tonight. I know things got out of hand, but it was a 14-point game, and it seemed like they were just setting up empty backfields, setting up for failure, essentially. I thought tonight they started off relatively well running the football, right? The first quarter and a half, they had like 80 yards on the ground, and maybe 15 of those were from Baker. But the fact that they were able to successfully move the football on the ground more than they could do anything else, I thought they veered away from that a little bit too soon. So would like that, to be something that, I don't know, they can lean on that here in the next few weeks, because as we had made clear before the show, I don't think Teddy Bridgewater wants to do much football activity.
Yeah. So this is from Greg Allman really quick before we get to this call. The Bucs have given up 106 points in their 3 straight losses. Well, obviously one of being the pick six, but the most they've allowed in any 3-game span since October 2019. Bowles' first season in Tampa. 78 points in consecutive weeks is the most since 79 in 2018, a season that saw the DC fired mid-season. So.
Oof, not a great feeling. We appreciate you hanging on for us, though, from the 912. Who's this?
This is Coach Gruden.
Oh, Coach Johnny Boy. Chucky, how you doing?
What'd you see, Coach?
Great. So here's my main thing I saw, and you guys touched on it a little bit. Empty set. What are we doing in the empty set? And you notice the Rams stacking 3-4 rushers on the left side of the line, forcing Baker to his right. It's like they can't figure it out. They're forcing Baker to the right. He's rolling out. And they're just aggressively just clamping down on all these short route concepts. Mm-hmm. Another thing I've got on here, the play calling is terrible. It's very predictable. 3-yard routes, stick concepts. The Rams are just keeping everything in front of them and just playing aggressive. They're not worried about getting beat over the top. There's no threat. They're flying downfield, tackling hard, and you can't play football like that. You've got to get under center. You've got to run the ball. You can't just let them tee off on you like that. And it's like you said, that's why it snowballed and got out of control pretty quickly. Like, you're going to have a lot of quick 3 and outs. The defense, the zone coverage, how many times did we see that flat defender in conflict and Matthew Stafford throws a 15-yard out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
Any quarterback that has played in the NFL more than 3 years is going to shred this zone defense. I don't know. It's a personnel issue, obviously, but you got to mix in some sort of man coverage, press man, because you're not gonna. Matthew Stafford is going to recognize the zone immediately, and there's going to be someone open. Teddy Bridgewater, what are we doing? Why is he in the NFL? Like, you're telling me there's not a single guy out there in the country that at least you can develop?
Right? I have to admit, maybe I'm ashamed to admit this, but I probably cheered louder at my TV tonight because of Teddy Bridgewater than any other play. I was too frustrated with the game to be excited about the Tez Johnson touchdown earlier on. So, like, when Teddy Bridgewater was scrambling for 7 yards, someone sent a tweet out and said that he moves like a retired WNBA player, and that was the funniest thing I had probably seen all day. But it's clear that, Teddy's not going to be an answer for this team. He's not even going to be a stopgap guy for this team. Just because it's not like we have the offensive mastermind who can make his job easy. You remember he was 5-0 with Sean Payton, New Orleans, as a backup quarterback filling in. So, like, he really didn't miss a step because of the offensive system they had. And unfortunately, I think at this stage of the game, it is, partially Josh Grizzard getting tossed a shit sandwich with the personnel and lack thereof. But I think just the creativity and it's just not there. It's not there. Final thoughts before we move on, my friend.
What are your thoughts on the empty set and the throwing the ball on 4th and 1 out of the shotgun? Like, am I crazy? Like, this is it's terrible.
Yeah, look, it's especially on the short yard situations. I think they've had some success over the last couple weeks running the football. So I wouldn't mind going in shotgun to have the illusion of a pass. But yeah, going empty and not even having the threat of a run, I don't like, especially on the short yarded situations. And they do it too often. So I don't know exactly why. But yeah, it is something that I would like to see a little bit less of, but I just
I
that's
mean,
just who they want to be.
Or
with
bring in a fifth receiver and put him in the backfield and get some sort of
well,
rub
even
when he's
with
coming out of the backfield. But
even with the success
know.
they've had in the run game these last couple of weeks, it would be nice to see like some play action under center. I don't know what their play action percentage is and compared to the rest of the league, but I know that they are like in the bottom fourth as far as play action percentage.
it
You're just
also
not
will keep Baker from getting teed off on, and then just put, like I said, if you watch, they're stacking 3-4 rushers on the left side of the line and just making him roll out every play. Like, you've got to get some heavy personnel on the field. But
yeah.
that's my rant here.
We appreciate your call, my friend. We're going to get to everybody else, but thank you for holding on and great stuff. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. See ya.
All right, let's get to one more here from the 805. We appreciate you holding on for us. Who's this?
How's it going? My name is Angel. I'm from Los Angeles. I just left the game a few minutes ago, and I got to start off by saying that my frustration with the team starts with the coaching. I think that this team is so talented and so stacked, even at the depth that we're at, losing Bucky Irving, losing Mike Evans, having Chris Godwin not at 100%, and with Baker Mayfield being on his third offensive coordinator in his 3 years with the Buccaneers, has shown that he's excelled with offensive coordinators, different offensive coordinators, almost every year since he's been with the Rams, and played well. He's had his hiccups, but I have to say that the season with Josh Brizard has been his worst, and I think it's the lack of complexity in this offense, the lack of creativity. Like you explained earlier, it's the lack of wide open plays, and that's just the offensive side of the ball. I think the defensive side of the ball has its issues too. I observed today that Zion McCollum had issues with Adam, and I think those are growing pains. I think as his career progresses, he'll do better. But man, those chunk plays, every series for the Rams was flawless. They didn't punt a single time the entire first half. It was really tough to see, and I just think that it starts with the coaching with this team. I don't think that this team lacks talent. I think it lacks coaching decision, and it lacks coaching creativity on both sides of the ball. What do you guys think?
I think that coaching is thank you for your call. We're going to get to some more here and we'll dive into this. Go Bucs. I think coaching is obviously going to be a valid conversation at this stage of the game. And when you look at these losses for Tampa Bay, we have now started to question Todd Bowles' coaching decisions for consecutive weeks. Carried all of his timeouts into halftime again. I know that.
I mean, does that really matter?
It doesn't. It was kind of a moot point.
I preferred that. I wanted to get out of there.
But I mean, like, if we're gonna nitpick, right? If we're gonna nitpick, did Baker Mayfield need to be on the field throwing a Hail Mary?
No, that's stupid. Especially when he had already gone to the tent before.
Right.
Like, felt very
you're
yeah. Have Bridgewater go in and do the same exact thing. Just, if you want to do a Hail Mary, have Bridgewater go in and do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Same exact thing. And then maybe Baker Mayfield doesn't have a sprained left shoulder.
I also thought it was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie to you. I laughed at my TV when they interviewed him at halftime, and they're like, "Hey, what happened? Baker's hurt. Your defense just gave up 30 points. Like the Bucs are trailing 30 points at halftime." And he's like, "Yeah, we got to stay committed to the run."
Yeah.
And I'm like, we got to stay committed to the run. We got to start picking up first downs.
I was surprised they interviewed him.
I was too.
He's like,
but
what's he supposed to say?
We got to get off the field. We got to get off the field. Our defense has got to get off the field.
He did say that. They asked him about the defense. That's what he said. Is he supposed to just curse on national television and just?
It still made me laugh that the first thing out of his mouth was, "Yeah, we got to stay committed to the run." And I'm like, dude, they just threw for 220 yards on us.
Well, yeah, but, 31-7. That game's over. Compare the head coach from the Rams to ours, LMFAO. Buddy, that's like, I mean, come on.
Was he referring to you, or was he referring to the caller?
No. I think he was just. I don't know who he's referring to, but it's like comparing the head Todd Bowles to Sean McVay. That's not a compare. Nobody's doing that. I don't think anybody's doing We got a
$10 super chat here from Realtor Dave Zussman 4673 says, "Thank you for the podcast. We all need a beer after this horrible game. If I could do only one move to make this team more competitive next year, I would fire Jason Light."
That's it. If they have the same exact roster, but Jason Light's not the general manager, it's fine.
Yeah, bring Todd Bowles back, bring Grizzard back, bring Baker back.
Yeah.
All the variables, everybody's back in the mix except for Jason Light.
And look, we're not going to have this whole ordeal right now. So he said I would fire Light as well. Brady made him look good. Why do you think Tom Brady came to Tampa? I think it's because he was attracted to the team that Light built. But hey, that team was a quarterback away, and Brady recognized it. Light built that team. That's all I'll say.
Final call of the night from the 937. Who's this?
Yo, what's happening?
How you doing,
What's going on, man?
Not too much. I mean, what is there to say, man? What is there to say? It's the same thing week in, week out. I'm watching the game. Yaya gets a big sack. First drive. 3rd and 18. I'm just like, I just know the Rams are going to get it. And that's so pathetic, man. The guys calling in saying, like, coaching. That is, we talk about it week in and week out, but, like, you fire Todd Bowles, like, right now, what is that going to do? Nothing, probably. Fire him at the end of the season. I just don't know. I just don't see any hope going forward. Is Baker Mayfield even the guy? You know? It shouldn't look this bad. Last week on the interception that he threw trying to throw to Emeka Egbuka, Tez Johnson was open. Like, what are we looking at? I get it. Baker Mayfield's a great story, but what are we doing? The injuries aside, it's like if we don't have Mike Evans, we're the worst team in football. And that blows my mind. What do you guys – where are we at? What are we doing? Are we going to even beat the Carolina Panthers? I don't even think we can beat the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Or the Dolphins at this point.
I think when you look at great call, my friend. We appreciate you calling in. When you look at the second half of this schedule.
Well, here's the thing really quick. It says, we're going to beat the one. It all depends on the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
If Baker Mayfield's in there, I think they're gonna be able to win most of these games. But let's also, and I hate to sugarcoat because tonight was unacceptable and this and that. Let's not pretend like they're losing to some scrub teams.
No, they're not.
The Rams, I truly believe the Rams are the best team in the NFL.
Yep.
Like the Patriots have won like 9 straight or whatever. The Bills, they're sort of inconsistent, but they have arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. In Josh Allen, the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, and then the Detroit Lions as well. Like, let's not pretend like all 5 of their losses haven't been against like some really good teams. They haven't lost to they haven't lost a game where you go into it and say, yep, the Bucs are 100% better and the Bucs should win this game. They haven't lost a single game like that all season.
No. They haven't, but what does the narrative then become whenever the Bucs play good teams, which you have to beat on your way to being a championship contender, Super Bowl contender, which after a 5-1 start, I think people were more than optimistic the Bucs could at least look that way down the stretch. when time and time again you're matched up with upper level competition and this is the result, like, what does that say? What is the brand? What is the identity at that point? You beat up on all the shitty teams and you lose to the great competition? Because yes, again,
I mean, they beat Seattle and San Francisco, and I think those are two quality football teams. The Texans are above 500 as well. You beat them on the road, so I mean that's three teams right there that all have above 500 records. Seattle, I think, is very good, and you beat them in Seattle. No, but I get it. Like, if you want to win a Super Bowl, yeah, you gotta beat good teams. That's how that works. I definitely understand, and again, I think that's a conversation for probably another time, and that's more of like a Bowles thing. Like, all right, if you're gonna do this again, like, you got to figure out, like, is it just literally like, man, this is a bad luck, this is bad coincidence that like they go through these streaks or whatever, and they're without their weapons and they're without this and that, like. Or is it that they just simply, yeah, like they just don't have the dudes? I think the truth probably lies a little bit in the middle, where like sometimes it is like, again, Mike Evans towards the end of the Jets game, week 3, runs a slant, hurts his hamstring. He's out for the next week, against the defending Super Bowl champions. It's bad. That's tough. That's a tough break.
Yeah.
And then you're playing these games without Mike Evans and Bucky Irving and Jalen McMillan and Chris Godwin. But at the same time, you got to beat these teams, right? And I think some of the reason why you can't beat these teams is because you don't have as much talent as you need in order to beat these teams. So I was just saying, in response to I don't even know if they could beat the Dolphins, or I still think again, this is contingent on Baker Mayfield being okay, right? Because if he's not, then the whole thing just it's a completely different discussion. But if he is, I have enough faith in them to be able to beat the teams that they should beat. There hasn't been too often since Baker Mayfield got there that they've lost to a team where I'm like, man, they should have beat this team. Like, they're clearly better. They should have beat this team. That hasn't happened too often, for me at least.
If Baker Mayfield plays Arizona the way that he has played the last 3 weeks, I think the Bucs are in serious danger of losing that football game. And I am
I need Baker Mayfield to play.
That's obviously the biggest contingency with everything.
I think if Baker
forward.
plays, I think the Bucs are going to win.
I just want to ask you about Baker, and we'll close with this because this is a question I've been wanting to ask the entire show.
Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence had 4 turnovers by himself, and the Jaguars still won. So that tells you how quality of a football team Arizona is.
Well, yeah, you're not lying. What's going on with Baker Mayfield? Again, it was a complete team failure tonight, and I don't want this to get lost in translation. All 3 phases of the game failed Tampa Bay against LA on Sunday Night Football. Coaching failed Tampa Bay against the Rams on Sunday Night Football. $2 super chat from Another Day at the Dock says, let's get Baker Mayfield under center 70% of the snaps. With the success the Bucs have had in the run game, I am honestly surprised they have not had him under center for play action. I understand that, you don't want him to get teed off against, especially when the offensive line had a performance like they did tonight. But I think they've been running the ball well enough to where they could try and get a little risky there. But, dude, Baker, tonight, I don't even think mentally Baker was in the game. He was 9 for 19, had, 50 yards in the first half, if even. Not a great performance by any means, and I know that, again, every single time we have a criticism of this football team, the injuries are going to be a part of that conversation. But without the injuries, when he's been on the field, when he's been available, look at the missed touchdown tonight to Emeka Egbuka. He throws that ball a second earlier, and it's a touchdown. Bucs are up 7-0. Next time they get the ball back, it's 14-0. So, that was one of the biggest differences.
Well, it's 14-0 because Kate Otten can't catch a cold. But
yeah, that's also true. But
I'm done with that guy, by the way. I've had enough. Like, and again,
Yeah.
we have plenty of time to go over who should be back, who shouldn't. When the season is actually over, despite fans thinking it's over right now. But I've had enough of Kate Otten. I can't do it anymore.
Are you concerned about Baker Mayfield because of the way that he has played over the last month? Well, I mean, the injury is, again, that's out of the question. But his performance, I feel like this is the longest that he has struggled, if you will, in a Bucs uniform. Yes, made some plays with his legs last week. Made some plays with his legs on Sunday Night Football. But he is not throwing the football as comfortably and as decisively as he did early on in the season, even when the injuries started to creep in for that wide receiver room. He's just not been hitting things he should be hitting.
You mentioned the word comfortable, and to me, and I wonder if this shoulder thing has kind of been lingering a little bit. Like, I wonder if it wasn't just from that one hit that he took. Because, like, seems like he's been late on a lot of stuff. Like, it seems like his timing's been off a little bit. That means the ball's not coming out as quick, right? His reaction time's not as quick, and obviously it's not his throwing shoulder, which is good. Because if it was his throwing shoulder, it'd be a lot worse. But I wonder if it's something that has been maybe bothering him a little bit. Nothing serious enough to where they can put on the injury report that like he's actually like limited or anything. I just wonder. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't. Just curious. So because to me, he doesn't look like a guy who's comfortable. He doesn't look like a guy who trusts his offensive line. He doesn't look like a guy who honestly trusts a lot of his wide receivers. And I wonder how much Josh Grizzard has faith in him because you talk about, oh, there's so many screens and stuff. Yeah, they're not really allowing him to throw the ball downfield much, right? And I understand maybe it's partially because when they have, it kind of hasn't been the best results, but also like, dude, keep trying because it's not like the screens are working. Like if the screen game was on point and everything, you're picking up 10, 11, 12 yards a pop, okay, keep it going then. But like you're not. It's not working. They're getting blown up because, just like that one caller said, nothing gets pushed down the field. So every defense is just staying right there where they need to and just pressing down on everything because they know they're not going to get beat over the top by you. There is no threat there. So I do wonder how comfortable he is. I'm not overly concerned. We do have another $5 super chat from another day at the dock. He said, Baker is getting lit up every play. He's hearing footsteps and is flinching from getting blown up so frequently. Bring in two tight ends, run offense like Seattle. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a little bit of it. I do, and I think he's definitely been feeling that a little bit. But I'm not gonna say I'm 0% concerned, but it is a little bit concerning. It definitely is. But I'm also, I don't know. I'm probably not even at 50. I'm probably at like maybe 40%, maybe. Just because I need to see it longer, and I'm not convinced that he's 100% healthy. So obviously not now, but I mean like before this game. Hopefully the injury, hopefully he can get back out there soon. Best case scenario is obviously he's back out there on Sunday, but if he has to miss a game, he has to miss a game. You'd rather him miss one game than go out there, try and play hero ball, and all of a sudden re-injure it and be done for the year, right? You'd rather just try and beat the Cardinals without him. Again, it's not like the Cardinals are some world beaters. You might be able to beat the Cardinals with Teddy Bridgewater, right? Like you might be able to. They're not a very good football team. You're at home after 2 weeks on the road. Like you might be able to do that. So the Bucs got to be smart about this. Baker's got to be smart about this because he's gonna want to play. I'm sure when he went in the tent and then they asked him, "Do you want to keep?" I'm sure they asked his input. He probably said he was fine, and I'm sure he did feel fine. Any football player is gonna want to go out there and continue to play. So I'm not overly concerned about his play. It's got to be better, though. I mean, I'm not oblivious to that. Like he has to be better, but and hopefully, he's able to come back and play some better football as the weapons, continue to roll in as well. Obviously, Chris Godwin played tonight, and then hopefully, we didn't really talk about this. Bucky Irving, as we have another $5 super chat from another day at the dock. Appreciate you, my friend, right here. Almost at the buzzer as we're wrapping things up here. You can go empty when you got Evans, Godwin, and Ibuka healthy. That's where spreading out is an advantage. Doesn't work when they just double Ibuka. Yeah, it's true. I mean, a lot of defenses are bracketing Emeka Ibuka, and it's not really working out. So we didn't really talk about this, but Bucky Irving potentially coming back next week against the Arizona Cardinals. And then Mike Evans maybe at some point, a couple weeks still. I don't think he's, like imminent, but, maybe in a couple weeks, week 15, week 16, maybe. So once you get those guys back, we'll see. But hopefully, again, it's all for naught if Baker's out long term. So we will see, and hopefully he's not.
I agree with you on most of those sentiments about Baker Mayfield. Chucking the ball downfield, I honestly thought the first 5-6 weeks of the season, that was kind of a big part of his skill set. I think that the EPA numbers for Baker Mayfield through the air were like the highest they had been since his rookie season in Cleveland, when he was really just throwing the rock around the yard. So the Bucs have definitely gotten away from that, and for one reason or another, again, we can always talk about the injuries or the play concepts downfield for Josh Grizzard, but they're lacking that creativity, and they're lacking anything in their arsenal right now that is pushing the ball downfield and really opening things up. I think some of those, beautiful air balls to Emeka Ibuka early on in the season, he was taking the top off of some defenses there. We saw it happen against the Jets. We saw it happen against Atlanta early on in the season, where there wasn't really any tape at all on Emeka Ibuka other than what they had seen in college. So that's going to factor into it, along with the health of the wide receiver room. But something's got to change, brother. And hopefully things will change. Another day at the dock, really throwing things down. One more time for everybody in their super chats tonight. Realtor Dave Zussman, another day at the dock. And I thought there was one person that I was missing here. Maybe it was just another day at the dock. Throwing it down, man. I think 3 or 4 different super chats just from another day at the dock. So thank you guys for showing up tonight. Had a lot of people hanging out with us, up over 200 at one point in the chat room. And it's a late night, and it's a late night after probably the worst Bucs loss we have seen, dare I say it, since like 38-3. I mean, I think that this loss stings more than those, in my opinion, solely because of where we are with the injuries to our quarterback right now. If you lost your quarterback, I mean, this is potentially, not to end the show on a sour note, but like this could be a season-ending loss.
Yeah, like there's if Baker Mayfield, again, if he's out more than like 3 games, they're done. Like they're just done. I think the one I would compare it to is maybe last year's Monday night game against Baltimore.
Yeah.
Just because like they were done, and then Godwin gets hurt, and you're like, man, like, and Evans got hurt in the same game.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so maybe that might be like the most recent comparison for me. But yeah. So they got to find a way to bounce back, right? I mean, three straight losses, it's a must win against Arizona, and it's hard to say because you don't know the stats of your quarterback, but it is. It simply is. And look, I mean, Arizona, they can put up like okay points. Like their offense isn't terrible, but they're still not a good football team. Like pound for pound, talent for talent, you are better than the Arizona Cardinals. So like you need to win that game.
We appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already for more great Buccaneers content. Follow the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. You can follow my co-host Evan on Instagram at Bucs_daily. You can also find him on Twitter at EvanNFL and check out his written work at BucsNation.com. What have you got to talk the people off the ledge this week?
Well, so I was planning.
Oh no!
Just when you said that, I was like, I was planning to sort of like, and I don't know what I'm gonna call this, but I was just gonna write my thoughts on where I think the Buccaneers stand right now and some of the issues I'm seeing. So I don't know if it's gonna talk you off the ledge.
gonna motivate him to jump.
No, see, that's the thing, though. You can't read it on the ledge, so you're gonna have to come down off the ledge to be able to read it. You might want to get back on after, but but I will say that just again, just some thoughts, and then also looking ahead to the Arizona game. Talked about how that's a pretty big game right now for the Buccaneers, so I'm gonna have all coverage leading up to that as well. And then over on the Cannon Fire Podcast YouTube channel, we're gonna manage to get best and worst out. Again, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna be basically a worst. It is not gonna be a best because there's not a single player like that really deserves to be on the best. I guess the best is like Sean McVay for not like putting 50 up because he definitely could have if he wanted to. Yeah, and then we'll have, some other content out here. Obviously, Thanksgiving. Hope everybody has a nice Thanksgiving. With the holiday being this week, I don't exactly know of our schedule for this week. We'll see. But yeah, hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving and enjoys, football and food.
Last but not least, you can find myself Instagram and Twitter at Redicus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. Yes, sir. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. I don't know if we will talk to you before then. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. Please check out the Rondé Barber Show this week. I am excited to announce that I will be filling in for JB on this week's episode. So I will be guest hosting the Rondé Barber Show. I am scared shitless. Man, I'm not gonna lie to you. Gonna keep it 100 with you. I am very, very nervous, and it really sucks that this is the game that we have to talk about. But it's an incredible.
I'd love to get Rondé's perspective on some of the defensive issues because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be very fun, but it's gonna be really cool. I'll tell you that much. So please check that out this week, and thank you again for everybody checking in the live chat. West Coast Richard T checking in at the buzzer. Very Thick Hog, Realtor Dave Zussman, and Another Day at the Dock. All of our super chatters. One more time, clap it up for you guys. We appreciate you very much. All right, that's the show. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host, Evan Wanish. We will see you in the next one. Until then, and as always, thank you for listening, and go Bucs.